Hi, I'm Sean Diddy, and I'm part of the admissions team here at MIU. And I'm excited to talk with you. And really, our entire group is here behind the scenes ready to talk with you about our online Master of Science degree in Maharishi Ayurveda and Integrative Health. We are recognized by the Ayurvedic Practitioner Program of NAMA, and we'll talk about what that means. And I'm going to introduce you to some of the folks that are the experts behind the scenes. But first off, I want to tell you a little bit about MIU. We are a nonprofit university accredited by the Higher Learning Commission, and you are going to be entering an online program, but we are the home of consciousness-based education. We are celebrating 50 years of being a university, and we are literally one of the founding universities in regard to Ayurveda in the United States, and we offer some of the only programs of this type that are accredited in the United States. And you will graduate as a Maharishi Ayurveda practitioner, and that means you'll have real-world knowledge and training, and that will help you once you satisfy the legal requirements of the state that you want to practice in. You can set up your business the way that you wish, and we'll help you with that and make sure that you stay within the legal requirements. Again, as I mentioned, we are a member of NAMA, the National Ayurvedic Medical Association, and so we do satisfy NAMA's curricular requirements. So again, you will become a certified Ayurvedic practitioner. We have a wonderful program for you, and we're going to talk more about what that means, how you will do this online, and then how you will complete those 150 client-patient encounters. You can pay your tuition with federal student loans, and we are accredited. That means that most of our students, depending on your eligibility, will be able to get a student loan to cover your tuition, part of your housing, your meals. Sometimes you get cash for expenses, and also as you're traveling for those clinicals, a lot of folks will use some of their financial aid. Again, this is the Fairfield campus, and you can see that we are just really focused on wellness. You've probably heard of Ayurveda at this point. You do not have to have a health background in order to apply for this Master of Science degree. Usually any US equivalent Bachelor of Arts degree will be accepted. And we're going to talk about what this ancient system is and how we've reevaluated it in terms of today's modern society. And our Dr. Paul Moorhead is with us, and we actually have Melinda, who is a student. Susan, we'll talk about some of the things that you'll learn, some of the modalities that you'll study, including maybe individualized lifestyle modifications. And if you have questions about tuition, I'm not going to address tuition specifically in this webinar, and that's because your tuition numbers might vary based on your personal situation, what your financial aid package is. So you can go to miu.edu/financial aid or /financial-aid to look that up. And if you have further questions, our financial aid department is finaid@miu.edu via email. They will be there to answer your questions. Speaking of questions, James is our director of admissions. He actually has a background in wellness and the wellness space, integrative health. Really one of my go-to sources in regard to all things MIU. So if you have questions about the program, ask those questions on Q&A, and also ask your questions for all of our panelists on the Q&A. You can ask anonymously if you wish. I will read them off and try to ask them live during this webinar. If we don't get to your question, don't worry, we can get back to you after the webinar. One of the most important things here is you're going to be a part of a learning community committed to inner growth, and you're going to learn more about our group and what makes us all click together, and you're here, so you probably will find yourself kind of clicking with these conversations as well. Dr. Moorhead is a PhD. He's the Associate Dean of the College of Integrative Medicine at MIU. He co-directs our MS in Maharishi Ayurveda and Integrative Medicine, so he's a great resource for you. He's also a professor, so you're going to be able to ask him questions about classes. Susan is our clinical and curriculum administrator, so she can actually answer your questions about how do you get to clinicals? How does that work? What does the curriculum look like? How long will this take? And then Melinda works with us in our undergraduate department in regard to our specialization in yoga and Ayurveda wellness, but she's also a health coach and she is a student. So today she's going to give you her perspective of what it's been like to go through this MAVM program online. We call it MAVM. It's Maharishi Ayurveda and Integrative Medicine. And, ask her questions. Ask her about time. She's a mom. She works. She's very busy. So she gets it. This is about you and you letting us know if this will work for you. And we know that this program isn't going to work for everybody, but we do want to ask or answer your questions. So first off, I'm excited to introduce Dr. Paul Moorhead. And Dr. Moorhead, I kind of popped up the Vata Pitta Kapha. Can you tell us a little bit about your background? I mean, how you got to MIU and what you do here now?
Be happy to, Sean, and welcome everybody. Lovely to see you and our wonderful panelists. How did I get here? Oh, my goodness. I was teaching Transcendental Meditation in Kansas City, about 4 hours from MIU, and suddenly we bought this university up here within driving distance. And so friends and I came up to see it. And not long after, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi himself, the founder of the university, came to MIU and gave a beautiful talk in our field house to hundreds, if not thousands of people. And he said, it's a fair field. And he said, consciousness is a fair field. And he played on that theme for quite a while. And it is quite lovely here, and especially now it's going to turn spring and we've gotten through the ice and snow part. But it's very peaceful here and very beautiful. And it's the center of the United States, really. I mean, the exact center is in Kansas, but this is the population center of the United States, interestingly. And one of our missions and goals at the university is to have a peaceful place where we radiate coherence and positivity to the whole country from this one location, interestingly, through our group meditation. So we have group meditations here and so forth. So you'll come for your 2 weeks of clinical training every year, and you'll get to know Fairfield and enjoy it as much as we do, I'm sure. And Ayurveda, Maharishi Ayurveda is consciousness-based. The foundation of the physiology is our consciousness. What happens in your mind simultaneously happens in the body. Anytime you have a thought, it changes your hormones and your DNA expression. So consciousness is primary, physiology is secondary. So we all practice transcendental meditation here at MIU, and that allows the individual to dive deep into that field of peace and perfect balance twice a day. And I had already been teaching that, and then my father was a doctor, so I had interest in health. So it just all came together naturally, and here I was at MIU studying Maharishi Ayurveda with great Vaidya's, and then became faculty here. And we started this program a number of years ago. Started with 20 students, and now we have over 300. It's the only accredited Master of Science in Ayurveda in the country. So it's one of the biggest Ayurveda schools in the West, and I'm sure you would enjoy being part of it.
And we will be, bringing some questions to you, Dr. Moorhead, based on what folks are asking. I know that a few people, let's see, we have, someone asked what a Vaidya is. Can you tell us, cover that?
Yes. A Vaidya means knower of Veda. Veda means knowledge. Ayurveda is the science or knowledge of life and lifespan. And a Vaidya is a knower of that science. And traditionally, there's a 5.5-year program called the Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicine and Surgery in India, where a person becomes officially a Vaidya. So that's the doctoral level training in Ayurveda, is a Vaidya. And our faculty, our clinical faculty, are all not only Vaidyas, but many of them are PhDs and MDs. So they have advanced clinical and research training in Ayurveda. So we have a world-class staff, really, of Vaidyas to guide our program here.
I popped up just a couple of classes because people ask about what some of the classes are, and you can find more about the classes on our website. I know we have Susan with us, and she can address some of those questions. Here is a picture of one of our Vaidyas. And one of the things that comes up that seems to make our program different is Ayurvedic pulse diagnosis. So could you address that? And again, kind of people take one class at a time. So how does this play into how someone would enter the program, and how would they use this then in their practice?
Beautiful question. There are three modes of diagnosis in Ayurveda: darshan, sparshan, and prashna. Seeing the person gives you a lot of information about the person, whether they're relaxed or whether they're nervous or whether they're overweight or they're a little too thin, or many different varieties. Seeing it. Darshan, sparshan is touch. So through the sense of touch with three fingers, we touch the radial artery of the person. And it's really surprising how much information is there in the pulse, and basically everything about the whole mind-body system. Because when consciousness reverberates within itself, it expresses as a physiology in these three streams. You showed the picture of Vata, Pitta, Kapha. There's a principle of movement, which is Vata, principle of heat and transformation, which is Pitta, and the principle of structure, which is Kapha. And one can feel in the pulse the state, a level of balance or imbalance of those three governing principles of the physiology. So that's our main diagnostic tool in Ayurveda. And in just 2 minutes, you can tell the condition of the nervous system, the digestive system, the mind, the respiratory system, all in the pulse. So it's a very crucial tool, and it takes a little while to master. But even in the first week, in the very first introduction in the orientation, we teach how to take the pulse, first step, first lessons. And we go through and we advance the pulse continuously. You have maybe a dozen lessons in the first year, and then lots of practice as we go along. Practicing on yourself, self-pulse diagnosis, which, by the way, is balancing, just taking your pulse, even if you don't know anything, balances your pulse because it's consciousness flowing onto the subtle level of physiology.
Oh, look, so we leave with a tip today.
Yes.
As people get this master's degree now, number one, you do not have to have a health background. You just need a U.S. equivalent bachelor's degree. And people ask us, Dr. Moorhead, how would they then, what is legal for them in regard to a job? What would they do with this master's degree in the United States at this point? And do you see this industry growing? I asked that kind of laughing because I just read an article that I think it's up to like the $80 billion industry in the next couple of years.
Yes, it's interesting. Ayurveda is exploding, partly because of the yoga explosion, and the sister science of health to yoga, yoga asanas, is Ayurveda from the ancient Vedic tradition. Yes, and the biggest form of alternative medicine right now is non-vitamin supplements. And of those, the Ayurveda supplements are the biggest. So all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, we've been teaching this for 40 years, but rather quickly, Ayurveda is becoming very well known all over. And Maharishi Ayurveda is not a licensed profession yet in any state. It's not illegal, it's not legal, it's just not yet accredited or licensed formally, but it will become so because it's growing rapidly, like Chinese medicine had. And National Ayurvedic Medical Association is working towards licensure and so forth, but it has to go through every single state. There are 11 states called health freedom states where one could practice as a Maharishi Ayurveda practitioner independently and provide full service. You can provide health education and be a health coach in all 50 states. But to do the full service of a practitioner in some of the states, that would require to recommend specific programs, specific herbal programs and so forth for specific imbalances, which you are trained to do in this master's. You want to work with a healthcare team, including one who is a licensed practitioner, MD-DO, chiropractor, naturopath, etc. And that model is also exploding, where healthcare teams everywhere are getting together because everyone has expertise and something valuable to offer. But you can do education, you can do health coaching anywhere, absolutely anywhere. And interestingly, in Ayurveda, a lot of the most important things that you can do for your health is things that don't cost you anything. Go to bed early, get up early, take a walk in the morning sun, eat good food. You know, those are really the main things that result in good health. And so a health coach is really a very precious profession now.
Oh, thank you. And we'll get some more questions to you, Dr. Moorhead, as well. We have some questions for Susan. Susan is our clinical and curriculum administrator. And Susan, first off, welcome. Thanks for doing this with us. And one of the questions that has come in is when people do their clinical training, where do they go? Do they have to do it all in one chunk? How does that work with their schedules? And kind of how do some folks work out finances? If you can just kind of give us an idea of how that plays into everything.
Sure. So every semester, students would come for 1 week to Fairfield or to the Doshi Center in LA to have their clinical week. And it's just 5 days in the week. And so they don't have to do all 6 weeks at one time. It's just during the course of their semester, and they'll come with their cohort, which is nice. So they'll be able to get to know people a little better. And they'll learn everything at the level where they are as they move forward. And what was the next question? Because I think I forgot.
I think you covered it. Is that someone did ask about financial aid, and some maybe many students use a portion of their financial aid for their travel. Have you seen that?
Exactly, yes. And they also, the university as well, it will cover their housing and food while they're in Fairfield or in LA. So they don't have to worry at least about that piece. So they just have to get to one place and then they're there all together.
And you mentioned being all together, and are you seeing kind of this community building? And I know we have Melinda with us as a student, so we'll ask her from the student perspective, but you looked kind of happy when you said you're with your cohort. Are you seeing these people when they finally meet for the first time in person, just kind of having, I guess, I found my tribe moment?
Well, I was too a student, so I'm a graduate of the program. And yes, that was the best part, was coming to Fairfield and meeting all these people that I've read their work online. But how often do you get to be good friends with somebody I'm in Colorado, in Delaware, and in South Africa, you don't get that opportunity in every program, but this one, we certainly all come together. We're all working together in the same direction. So it is lovely to see everybody get together.
And I'll ask Melinda, since you're here, Melinda, how is the class schedule in regard to your busy life? And Susan, feel free to pop in with legitimate class hours and that type of thing. But I think that's one of the questions that we get a lot, is how long is this going to take? But how much homework do I do? How much classwork do I do? And is it flexible enough for someone with a full-time life to do? So Melinda, first off, just thanks for doing this, because you have a really busy full-time life.
Yes, I do. But if you're organized and you can learn how to be more organized, obviously we are given some guidelines as to how to structure our week, our day. I do work, and I have the ability to make the time that I need to put into attending live classes, also getting the study time that we need for everything. That part hasn't really been that hard. You get into kind of a rhythm, and once you know what works, you kind of stay with that rhythm. So yeah, it's been 3 years. I graduate in June and looking forward to that, but yay. But yeah, so I haven't had a lot of struggle with that. I know that there are people that have, busy schedules and can make that time.
And I know that I've heard from a lot of students that it is easy to communicate with your professors to go back and forth about scheduling. And if you do happen to have a problem getting something in, you can usually work something out. Susan, how long are you seeing it take folks generally to complete this program online?
Well, because it's a specific set time program, it's 3 years. So every semester is a different part of the course. So it does take the entire 3 years.
And I know Dr. Moorhead will pop in on this, because there are over 600 studies about TM, and some of them focus on how TM helps us to kind of be in flow. And one of the main things about MIU and its founder is consciousness-based education, meaning you're learning more with less stress. this block system, the idea of taking one course at a time, I know there are other programs out there. We're the only accredited one, but what are you seeing as an instructor in regard to TM and the structure of MIU making this program probably more doable for students? Do you see that?
Yes, we do. It's interesting that with regular meditation, you invest 20 minutes morning and evening, and suddenly you are much more efficient because you're thinking more clearly, you're more calm, you're less stressed, and the mind is just clearer. And actually, TM has been shown to increase intelligence significantly and improve memory and improve organization of memory and problem solving and academic performance and many other things. Just because the mind is more orderly, is functioning more according to its potential. So the meditation itself, that investment of time, makes everything else work much better. But we do have people with time challenges, no question. That is an issue for us. Busy people who have additional jobs. COVID was a great challenge for all our healthcare workers, obviously. And some may have had to take a break. But if a person needs to take a break for a semester and come back, that's perfectly okay. Pick up where they left off. But if one has the desire, where there's a will, there's a way. If someone really has the desire and interest to help people and to help themselves and their family, you can make the 8.5 hours a week. And that does include 2 live webinars and 2 1.5-hour webinars required. They're live, and we prefer if people are there live, but if they can't, they can watch the recording. But there are 10 required live webinars per semester, at least 10 of the 36 that we have each semester. So a person can be live and interact with their fellow classmates and faculty. But I would say that the main challenge of this online program, any online program, is a little discipline, that one can organize their time. And Melinda said we give some help with that. But that is the main thing. You really have to make it a priority. And then it goes smoothly. Once you get in the rhythm, it's just like anything else. You get into the rhythm, get in the routine, go to bed early, get up early, do your meditation twice a day, main meal at lunch. There's tip number 2 or 3. Then you're going to be rolling.
We had a question about how do you get to Fairfield or Los Angeles? And as we mentioned, and as Susan mentioned, once you get to our Los Angeles clinical or our Fairfield clinical on your own, MIU does provide food and housing. Los Angeles, it's pretty easy. Most folks know how to get there. Fairfield is actually in the center of the country. So there is a small regional airport about 45 minutes away in Burlington, Iowa. You can also look at Peoria, Illinois. Most often I fly into either Des Moines or Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So you can see Des Moines is about 2 hours, Cedar Rapids about 1.5 hours. You also have the options of Chicago and St. Louis, or if you are in the Minneapolis area, we're actually a drive straight down the interstate from Minneapolis as well. So very centrally located, and often we do, actually I know we do for our clinicals, offer shuttles from the airports in Iowa. So you'll go on our shuttle schedule when your clinical comes up. So first off, you get to come meet your cohort and all your friends. And secondly, you'll probably run into some of them, or you can plan to run into some of them in the airport, and then get on the shuttle together and then come to MIU. And again, Fairfield is fantastic. You can find out more about it on our miu.edu webinars page. There's a replay of me running around Fairfield. But it is really, I think, such an honor to be with all of you. And I just keep those questions coming in on the Q&A. James, again, is our admissions director, so he can answer admissions types questions. I know Dr. Moorhead is answering some questions too. I want to ask, I love how people are asking very specific Ayurvedic questions. I want to come back to Susan for just a moment. Susan, when are you then the academic advisor, or who helps people as they're trying, if they are lining up classes and that type of thing? What type of support is there for that?
I do help with academic advising a little bit, but these classes are very set. So you take this one, then you take this one, then you take this one. There are no real options as far as which one you're taking and when.
And I think that is helping people with scheduling. You just know set up. This is what you take, and you focus on one class at a time. So you don't have 5 finals right around holiday time. It's one class, and we really break things up. Another question came through. Someone asked, and maybe we need to answer this very specifically. Will this degree allow me to be an Ayurvedic counselor as well as a practitioner? Can you tell us, Dr. Moorhead, what does the word practitioner entail versus a counselor we offer with our BA program? But what do
Yes.
people get here professionally?
Yes. So this is the practitioner level of training, 1,500 hours is defined by NAMA. And the counselor is more 500 hours. Actually, our undergraduate program is more than 1,000 hours. But a counselor is more basic diet and lifestyle coaching type of profession, whereas the practitioner is actually being able to assess imbalances through the pulse and through health history and so forth, and actually make specific recommendations to restore balance in the case of imbalances. So it's much higher, it's a higher level of practice for the practitioner. But again, I said it requires that you practice according to the laws of the state where you live. And the health freedom states, of course, you can look those up. It's California, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, Idaho, Minnesota, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Rhode Island, Maine, and Colorado. I think I got them all.
Impressive. I wonder if you have a little song in your head, or if that is the work of transcendental meditation. And again, I think that some of the neat things about MIU are, yes, the clinical training you get, the fact that we are accredited, you can pay your tuition with federal student loans. Our admissions team is always willing to answer your questions and able to answer your questions. But while we're live here, keep those questions coming in. And I'm going to come back to Melinda as a student for a moment, because I know that you are also teaching yoga, you're also in the industry. Why was it important for you to get this master's degree, and what do you see in the industry as, I mean, clearly we have a whole group of like-minded people here that are probably wondering, okay, what am I going to do with this in the real world, as far as is this worth my time and attention?
So I was already a 500-hour yoga teacher, which meant that I went through over 500 hours of training. And I learned a little bit about Ayurveda from both of those trainings, but I never really felt like I got deep enough to understand how they really integrated together. And I also went through a health coaching program that was a year long, and also got a taste of Ayurveda. And of all the programs that we learned and all of the different disciplines that we learned within the health coaching, the thing that I kept coming back to was trying to find more books on Ayurveda. So the reason that I personally came to this program is, yes, I wanted to get a master's degree, but I also have struggled with autoimmune disease since I was 15. And I felt like each and every time I studied something, I got to a certain part or another level, but I didn't really feel like I was actually kind of watering the roots. I didn't really feel like I was getting to the basis of why my body had, been dealing with some of the issues. And I spoke with James, who is our expert, probably 10 times before I committed, because I was so worried that this was going to not fulfill the need that I had, the curiosity that I had about Ayurveda. And in fact, it has. It's really helped me in my practice. And also I had a company for about 6 years, combining yoga and coaching. And this has really just allowed me, the Ayurvedic knowledge has allowed me to see people in a different way, hold space people for in a different way, and also, educate them in a way that's really bio-individual and allows them to make the decisions that really serve them. And that's the only thing I ever really needed for myself, because I wasn't getting the answers in the conventional way, and even in the other modalities that I tried to work within. And so as I move forward, I want to create that for clients and as well as students, because I am teaching in the bachelor's.
And I love that you use the words bio-individual. I think that so many of us want to help ourselves, but also then help other people. Susan, one of the questions that has popped up a couple of times, and I want to make sure we directly address it. people are asking about their schedule and fitting in that week that they need to come to campus. Are those sessions offered regularly so that people can work that in? How does that work?
We try and provide, with COVID, we've had a little issue with providing the dates of the clinics, but we're trying to provide those at least by the end of June, so they know for September, they know for the fall what their clinical weeks will be. So
And our clinicals,
yes, they're set.
they are set. So are they offered? I believe Dr. Moore had mentioned maybe they were scheduled every month and people could choose the month that then works best for them. Is that how it works?
We prefer them to come with their cohort and not with some other cohort, because every semester you're learning a little bit more. So you want to stretch yourself, but not too much. And you don't want to go backward in what you're learning either. So that's why we prefer people to stay with their cohort as they go through. So each cohort has its own day and time or week throughout the semester. Yes.
Good. And if there is a real particular situation, I know that MIU has been very good about if you just absolutely cannot come that date.
Yes. We're not unreasonable. I
Yes.
don't think. We're not unreasonable.
We've both been students, so we get that there, again, where there's a will, there's a way. I think this
Exactly.
entire community, if you want to learn this material, if you want to get this master's degree and you are willing to, you know, work with us, we are more than willing to work with you. Dr. Moorhead, when we come into the classes that people learn, and I know there is a specific master's degree in aromatherapy that MIU offers, which is separate from this, and folks could go on and get that as well. But do you look at herbs? I know you mentioned supplements. There are so many things now on the market. What will people learn in this master's degree that plays into what's happening in the world right now?
Beautiful question, very practical. Maharishi Ayurveda is holistic, prevention-oriented, and time-tested and evidence-based. And we could talk for a while about all those things. But in a nutshell, one learns how the mind and body works, how to maintain balance, how to restore balance. It's prevention-oriented. So first of all, we have meditation for the mind, to settle the mind, to expand consciousness, increase creativity and intelligence. And for the body, we have diet and specific diets for specific individuals. Melinda mentioned biospecific. Every individual is different, but there are 7 main body types, mind-body types. And so we learn how to recommend diet and herbs and lifestyle, exercise, and behaviors for those specific mind-body types. That's very important. So it's individualized also, personalized. The original individualized medicine is Ayurveda. And we learn how, of course, to take the pulse. And then based on that basis, we learn the diet, lifestyle. Lifestyle is very important. I mean, what we do every day, it's not what we do once in a while, but what we do every day really sets up the pattern for how our physiology is going to function over a lifetime. And so if we're straining or stretching here or there, if we're under a lot of stress, if we're out of rhythm with the cycles of nature, with day and night, for example, that's a very important rhythm to be in tune with. So you learn how to do that for yourself and to coach people how to do that. Daily routine is very essential. A whole world of herbal formulations from the ancient Vedic texts that are very, very, Maharishi Ayurveda products are very, very pure and triple tested and very extremely effective. These herbal combinations, the herbs are nature's pharmacy, nature's intelligence. And rather than having side effects, these herbs have side benefits. So you'll have an herb that has one of the main actions, maybe some herb for the joints or something. And then you have additional herbs that make it more bioavailable and enhance the digestion and absorption of the herb. And then you have other herbs that would balance any effects that herb might have over time that might create imbalance. So it's a beautiful synergy of all this quality intelligence, the most advanced science of herbology in Ayurveda, huge traditional knowledge. So that's a big part of it. And we learn behaviors. There's special behaviors in Ayurveda that nourish the whole mind-body system. They're called behavioral rasinas. They're very interesting. It's like, and they're mostly the things that your mother taught you, like be honest, be truthful, be sweet-spoken, be positive in outlook, respect for teachers and elders, and following the precepts of your spiritual tradition and having a good daily routine and things like that. But you learn specific behaviors that can really change a person's direction in life and really help them to live more in tune with their own real nature. So that's another specialty. So many, many different modalities of Maharishi Ayurveda. And just taking the pulse of someone starts the balancing process. It's really interesting. It's not like an MRI where you can you take the pulse and see what's happening. And in that process, the person starts to feel better. The healing process begins. It's so interesting. It's a really natural system and very comprehensive.
You mentioned, a regular schedule, and someone had posted asking when are the actual, if they want to attend the webinars live, is there a regular schedule for those, and what time are they and what days are those?
Sure. It varies a little, but usually Saturday morning and Wednesday or Thursday evening, around 7:30, Saturday morning, 10:30. And it varies just a little bit, but those are the main times.
And we base on Central Time, Fairfield, Iowa time, but we can have over 60 countries represented at MIU. It's just a very eclectic mix of people. And I think you mentioned something interesting, Dr. Moorhead, that I think all of us kind of shake our heads about is when we start to spend time with people who are caring about their health, people who are talking about healthy foods, people who are talking about being positive, wow, what does that do for us? And Melinda, I want to come back to you as a student, because what are you seeing in the student community? I know you work in wellness, so I'm sure you are surrounded by wellness professionals and people who take care of themselves. I live in New York City, and I work another kind of crazy job. So coming back to people who, let's have a cup of tea, has been a good influence on me. What have you seen as a student?
What's really interesting, well, first, like you were talking about, that over 60 countries, are part of it. I think the students, the cohorts, all kind of, you find the people that are closest to you, and we've created, study groups. So in my current study group, we have people from New York. I live outside of Philadelphia. We have people in Portugal, one person's from South America, and then we have people all over the country. So we all support each other. We help each other. We all have different specialties, some are nurses, some are doctors. We've been able to actually use the Ayurveda and help each other kind of overcome some of the obstacles that you don't want to broadcast to the whole cohort. You can, you might be the only person in your home or your household or your family that's learning this. And so it gives you a place to kind of plant yourself and throw ideas around. We celebrate each other, we help each other. It's been amazing, and I can't wait, because I've only been to campus once. That was before COVID. And so although I have been able to meet people that are regionally close to me that were in my cohort, I'm very much looking forward to going for my last clinical training and then graduation to actually see people that I've known for 3 years online and never been able to hug.
Well, this is so exciting to hear your experience. One of the questions came up is, are there tests? Dr. Moorhead, are there tests? How many tests? Are the tests hard? What's the
I mean, Dr. Moorhead can answer it, but I can answer it from a student. You need to know the knowledge. So they're there for you to, make sure that you're learning. You're learning how to articulate this amazing body of knowledge. So you're writing, you're thinking, you're writing, you get to do presentations. I really appreciate all the things that I've learned on the computer that I didn't actually know before I started this master's program. I had jobs that I didn't know how to use Microsoft Teams. I didn't know how to, use Google Docs. I didn't really have to do that in the way that I operated before. So I'm really grateful for all the different ways that I've learned to now present. And you're learning telehealth to a certain degree because of what we've experienced through COVID. And I have clients that live all over the country. So it's really cool to learn how to do a presentation and then go, hey, let's do it over Zoom. I know how to do that. You don't have to tell people how you learned it, but you have the experience of learning it.
That's wonderful. And Dr. Moorhead, do you have a follow-up from your perspective about the testing and kind of what the class structure is?
We rarely use the term test because everybody's blood pressure instantly goes up. We use quiz, and they're weekly quizzes just to examine the knowledge of the week. And they're not difficult. If, as Melinda said, if you've been through it, then you can get it. You can do fine. We do have end of course exams where we have a comprehensive to see what has happened based on all that's gone before. But we don't give difficult, long memory exams, not like that. Another assessment we have is case studies as you move along the program. And that is really where you put everything together. So you have a case, this person is this blood pressure, this height and weight, has these symptoms, has this kind of diet, this kind of pulse, what would you recommend? And that's where we really see that the students are understanding the knowledge. And then, of course, in our live clinicals, you're here and working with actual live people under supervision, and you get to really put the knowledge all together like that. But it's very low stress environment. Part of Marshi's principles of teaching is learning should be a joy, and it shouldn't be stressful or like that. Because under stress, we know what happens to the mind-body system. Under stress, the higher order thinking parts of the brain shut off. And you don't learn anything. You downshift to a more primitive style of functioning of fight or flight. So we don't want that. We want people to be happy and enjoy the knowledge.
Thank you. And you use the word assessment, and I think that's kind of sums up what I seem to be hearing is that at MIU, we help to make sure that you understand the knowledge, and we help to work with you to understand it in a way that works for you. We will have, again, our admissions team is available to answer more of your questions as they come up, admissions@miu.edu. We do have more webinar replays. If you have questions about maybe financial aid, there's one there, or you can email finaid@miu.edu. If you want to do a more in-depth visit, we have our virtual visits where you can talk to a financial aid counselor or maybe even another student. Our chatters are available. So if you think of something later in the week or at a random time, just go to miu.edu. The chatter will pop up at the bottom of that screen and answer your questions. And again, most of our chatters are former students, so they can really answer from several perspectives. The next entry is in August, and I am going to tell you to apply now because this program is growing and growing. The industry is growing, but because you get this hands-on attention, you'll want to secure your spot. If you apply and you decide that August isn't going to work for you and you'd like to defer to February entry, or maybe it isn't a fit right now in your life at all, that's fine. An application doesn't mean you're committed and you're enrolling and you're coming. An application will help you to get in touch with our folks and just really see how this might work out for you. So that's available at miu.edu, and you can go to apply. And Dr. Moorhead, I have a question because I feel like, well, you've watched this evolve. The university has been here for 50 years, but really you've seen this industry, and I know you see what's happening in the news, and now Ayurveda is the thing and meditation is the thing, but MIU has been doing this for 5 decades. If there's somebody looking, and I know there are other Ayurveda programs out there, this is an actual nationally, internationally recognized Master of Science degree. No matter how you slice it, we're accredited. Well, why do you think doing this would make somebody's life better if they do our MIU MS?
Mainly because it's comprehensive and time-tested and proven. So over 600 studies on transcendental meditation alone, showing its effectiveness in improving mind, body, health, every area of health, reducing stress, reducing anxiety. American Heart Association recommends TM as the only meditation that's been proven to lower hypertension, lower blood pressure, for example. So that's, most of our students say, boy, if I didn't do anything else, just starting TM in this program has been the greatest thing, and for life. It's a practice you have for life, effortless, simple, natural. Anyone can do it, and profound results, deep, profound benefits for mind and body and emotions and relationships and success and clarity. So that, because it's consciousness-based, this makes MIU unique. Then we have all these modalities that Maharishi revived and improved and brought to light in the scientific age. He always encouraged us to do scientific research on all the modalities of Maharishi Ayurveda. And we have some good research on our herbs and our meditation, and some research on the purification therapies, panchakarma, that we do in Ayurveda. But it's completely unique, and it's also a very friendly environment. You become like family with your classmates and your faculty, and it's a very special environment. And it's low stress. It's not intensive, very stressful. It's challenging, but not. What is it called? In our assessments, our student assessments of each course, they say, is the knowledge satisfyingly challenging? And that's where we want to be. And that's generally, I think, what we are always striving for. So it's a completely special, completely unique environment, completely unique program. So if one wants to be an Ayurveda practitioner or want to know enough about healthcare to really take care of yourself, this is the first thing we notice: the students really find their health improves, as Melinda alluded to, because they learn about things and we start applying these things to our own lives. And it makes a big difference in your own life and your family's life. So that's also a very special feature.
That is such a good point. So again, you start with what do they say? Put the oxygen mask on yourself first. And I think that is what a lot of our students talk about. Thank you for spending time with us. If you want to learn more, you can always, again, apply, miu.edu/apply, or just go to our website, check it out. We are going to have that entry in fall. We would love to have you apply now so that we can secure your spot. And if you have further questions, let us know. Thank you for spending time with us. And that concludes today's webinar. MIU is a nonprofit university accredited by the Higher Learning Commission. Financial aid is available for most students.